Good afternoon. It is Thursday, April 28th, 2022. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Harlan Municipal Utilities Board of Trustees to order. First item up is an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Michelle, aye.
Terrell, aye.
Reese, aye.
Sheldon, aye.
Okay. Item 3 is the approval of the consent agenda. Includes the minutes of the April 14th board meeting, abstract of claims number 1211 in the amount of $959,075. And the upcoming board meetings, May 12th will be a regular board meeting, and May 26th also a regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Michelle, aye.
Terrell, aye.
Reese, aye.
Sheldon, aye.
Okay. Item number 4 is a resolution number 92 of 2022, approving and authorizing amendment to loan and distribution agreement between the municipal utilities of the city of Harlan, Iowa and the Iowa Finance Authority.
Okay, basically, the purpose of this is that we were notified that the Iowa Finance Authority would be reducing interest on the 2012 water bonds from 3% to 1.75%. And so in discussions with bond counsel, there were a number of documents that have to be executed and board actions taken to be able to accept that and then go through a notification process regarding that interest change. And so that's what all the documents are that are associated with this resolution. And it essentially, for the remaining 10 years of the loan, it should reduce the interest costs by $315,837.50.
Okay, so the agenda says it's a 2023 maturity.
Yeah,
That's next year, right?
should be 2033.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm sorry, 2033.
say 315,000 in 1 year would be a lot.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Over the remainder of the loan, so.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? It sounds like a win.
Yes.
I move we approve resolution number 92, 2022.
I have one question before we move along, if I may. So what is this cost avoidance factored back into the water current operating budget? And if so, how much is that?
Not at this time, no. We haven't done any action yet until the board takes action.
Okay,
So.
but what will that, do we know what that figure will be?
It would have to be, they would run a proration table for the remainder of the term, so we could back that out each year based on what the amortization schedule shows. So.
Thanks.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Michelle, aye.
Terrell, aye.
Reese, aye.
Sheldon, aye.
Okay, item number 5 is request from Crease Garden Center for an exception to water conservation policy due to nature of business and loss of revenue.
Yes, we received a written request from Crease, and so that information was provided to the board.
Aren't we on just a water watch right now?
Yes.
So,
Right now you are.
Yeah.
But our season goes through May into June. Last year, we got rid of like $4,000 worth of plants because we couldn't water them. And so that was a loss in revenue for us.
is that insured?
No. No, we don't.
So the water watch, do we have a copy of it?
Pardon?
The water,
I printed some of it off on mine during the water watch. It's the no potable watering of the lawn, shrubs, trees, flowers, or vegetable gardens between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So that would be the exception right now, is they might have to water
We can water,
before.
my question is this, a lawn, a shrub, or a garden is different than a product. Does their product fall under that, being it is not a lawn, a garden, or a shrub? It is a product that they sell, no different than any other business in
last year
town.
when it came to tier 1, somebody came to us and I said, are you talking about my retail in the greenhouse? And he said, yep, you can't water.
I don't recall that coming before the board last year, so this
Well,
is,
it didn't because we didn't I mean, it was new to us, and we were busy, which isn't an excuse, but this time of year, we're working 7 days a week.
I certainly understand, and I certainly understand your challenges. To me, it does not seem as though this is a garden or a shrub. It sounds like a product, no different than mine or Essentials or any other business in this area. So
Right.
Right.
if that's a clarification that we need to make in the water policy, then I'm not sure you need an exception as much as we need a clarification of what that means. So maybe I'm...
Because that'd be no different than the car wash.
Well, the car wash has an exception. That's been granted in the watch and the stages all along. I don't know that any other business has an exception, but in the case of when this is being used in your product, it's a little different than we're talking about a garden or a lawn. So
Okay.
I don't know
I guess
how
I'm
we would...
looking for clarification too then, because last year we were under the impression, like I said, we got $4,000 worth of product because we couldn't water it.
Mm-hmm.
We were told we couldn't water it.
By the HMU.
Utilities.
Would have been HMU. We'll review that then, and I'll send out a notification to the board how we think we should address it.
Yeah, so what I would ask is we really need to get into the due process. So I think what needs to happen is the water committee needs to look at this. The water committee needs to come back and say, what is the process, what's the policy, what's the exception to policy? And then the water committee presents that to the board, and then we move forward yea verily. Because what will happen is we're going to continue to have misinterpretation or misunderstanding if we just keep providing exceptions to policy, and we don't clearly go back and delineate what is an exception to policy and what is the policy applicable to. Does that make sense? So,
And do you ever go over your water usage at all?
Their water usage actually is pretty minimal, surprisingly, for the business that they're in. They used 13,000 gallons the season of 2020, and then 12,600 this season of 21.
yeah.
So that's their whole season,
Yeah,
not just one day.
right.
So the other thing that I would ask the water committee to look at is they are on a non-interruptible rate, correct? Is that what?
That would be true, yes.
Correct, we only have one interruptible
Correct.
question.
So when we get into these discussions on how do we levy water matters, we need to factor in who is or who isn't on an interruptible rate. Because the person that, or the entity that's on an interruptible rate pays less than the person that, or the companies that are on non-interruptible rates. And yet we are penalizing, we appear to be penalizing the companies that are paying more and not the company that is already paying for an interruptible rate. That makes sense.
I'm assuming that you need an answer rather quickly on this in order to know what you're doing for the season. Is that true?
We plan on going as usual. I mean, we try and watch it, and like I told Jen on the phone, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, I said, we can do our first watering before 8 a.m. The only problem is, depending on the sunshine and the days, those greenhouses get hot, and things will cook in there if we can't go and touch it up during the day.
Or when it gets in the tier 1, when they can only do it once a week.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not possible.
I believe
But you're-
that the board is on board with you and that we
Right.
need to figure this out. But what we need to do is establish a definition of what a product in a business is as opposed to making exceptions. Otherwise, we're going to be hearing from lots and lots of different people, and it would be better if we could establish the policy up front. So if you can give us the time to do that, I think we can get the committee together quickly and get this resolved, is what
I
I'm
do
hoping.
understand that. And I'm not trying to knock any other business, because I know it's their livelihood too, but I can go all summer without washing my car. I can't make a living if I can't water my plants. in the greenhouse.
We use water as well, and it's important for every business in town at some level, so
Right.
that's why we need to establish what the criteria will be as opposed to granting individual exemptions for everyone that has to come before. We don't want everyone to have to come before the board, so.
I understand.
So I have a question. So tier one, it's pretty draconian. If there was a way to say every other day during it, would that,
That would depend on the day. If it's cloudy and the greenhouses don't heat up to 110 degrees, I could get by. And actually in April, we have not watered nearly like we did last year. Because it's been cool, it's been cloudy.
So we just need to define product.
I think so. So I don't believe there's any action we need to take today, other than I assure you the board will look into it as quickly as possible, and we'll get a resolution to you as soon as practical.
Do you think you would be able to have it by the May 12th meeting, the next meeting?
Who is the water committee?
I'm on it.
That would be you and
And Nell?
Randy.
Is it?
You and,
Oh, okay.
David
You
and
and
Randy.
Oh, it's us.
Okay.
Okay. That's terrific. I guess we will, yes.
Yeah.
We can make it, we can have a proposal by the 12th, and assuming the board approves it, we'll have it handled, so.
Will that help you by May 12th?
Well,
As long as she can do
hopefully as long
business
as we
as
can do
usual.
business as usual.
Yep.
I mean, we won't by any means overdo it, but we just don't have time
Yep, fair
or
enough.
the means right now to
yeah, so can I move
take the water.
to have this matter sent to the water committee?
Do we need that, Jen?
If you want it stated in the minutes that the water committee will
Okay,
meet.
we'll
and-
accept the motion that this will be sent to the water committee, and we'll bring back a proposal at the May 12th meeting.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Michelle, aye.
Terrell, aye?
Reese, aye.
Sheldon, aye?
Okay,
Who seconded that? Oh, who motion?
Jim.
Jim, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is review recommendations to renew health, dental, and STD insurance effective July 1st, 2022.
Yeah, so-
Everybody talk all at once.
Yeah, so the members of the insurance committee met with the city's insurance committee and provided recommendations and advice, and concurred that the rate that's subjected here, minor increase, be approved for the upcoming year. And then they also moved that there was a point at which we would get information a little ahead of time next year so that we could make decisions relative to, in a more timely manner. This was due in April, so the insurance committee didn't really have a lot of latitude on how much questioning or further information they could ask.
And then we discussed on trying to have them form a wellness group.
Okay, I'm not sure that's relevant to the...
It goes along with the insurance, trying to get their premiums lowered.
Okay, do I have a motion before the board?
Yeah, so I moved to have the recommended insurance adjustments for 2022-23 be approved.
Okay. Need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call?
Michelle, aye.
Carol, aye?
Reese, aye.
Sheldon, aye?
Okay. Item number 7, City of Harlan request for customer list, including customer names, addresses, and phone numbers. The names has been removed from the request, is that correct?
Yeah. It was clarified that it was just addresses and phone numbers.
Okay. Was there anything you wanted to add on this?
Yeah, this has come up several times in the past with regard to grant applications, including our own, about what all information we can provide. And currently, our policy, general policy number 1, we do provide customer mailing lists, but it's just a list of customer addresses. And they can either print it on plain computer paper or print it on mailing labels. And that's the only thing that's addressed in our current policy.
Okay.
And they're requesting phone numbers.
Is that not in the current policy?
It is not.
So do we need to...
No, I think when I sent out information to you guys, I sent you the policy that was created in, I can't remember what year it was.
2013.
2012, and then it was redone again in 2013, because
13, yeah.
2013 was the newest one. We had specifically taken phone numbers and names out of that policy.
Okay, so at this point, where does the city stand on this? Is the addresses enough for your grant application? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to it.
Yeah.
We provided information in the backup, it was provided to Ken, and as Ken just alluded to, this would be the results of this study would also benefit HMU as well as the city for up to 3 years, and other entities, right, to facilitate this LMI study. And what it will do is make the study process through Southwest Iowa Planning Council, which is our council of government who conducts this. Having phone numbers is paramount to make phone calls versus having one door to door. We know if you use a phone book nowadays, there's more and more lines disconnected, right? Even though the phone number is provided here, there's going to be some that may not be up to date, et cetera, but this will definitely facilitate the study. There needs to be 450 to 500 surveys completed to update this LMI study. And again, no names attached, and the only ownership or use of this would be through already our agreement that's already in place with Southwest Iowa Planning Council. So it's not being used for any other purpose, benefit HMU, benefit the city and others over the next 3 years for these applications.
Well, just any entity that we need to do a community development block grant request for. So it can be sewer and water, it can be housing, it can be anything. We have to have an LMI study in place. And it just so happens that the most recent LMI study expired in January of this year. So in regards to the request that we made for the well field and water, we made it by about 3 weeks. If we had put that request in 3 weeks later, we would have needed to do this same study to be able to even put in that CPJ application for HMU.
How did we do it last time?
Last time, I believe that, I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I'm pretty sure that you gave us a list of phones to make the phone calls.
No, I don't think they did.
I don't know how long ago that was, we would have to look back. If it was before our policy changed, it's possible.
The
No, it
policy
was-
changed in 2013. That was obviously more than 3 years ago, so.
I can check this with
Because my recollection was, it was last fall when the request had come in for our study, and there were concerns expressed because I don't believe we did provide the phone numbers, but I think we also were looking at some alternative information that the county had or that the property listed. I mean, we looked at different sources, but I don't believe we actually released the phone numbers, because I think that was the contentious part of it. And just to clarify, we're precluded by law from releasing any customer information from the telecom side of the business. So this is strictly listing customers in our utility side of the business. So.
I just have a question because I'm curious. Does the assessor's office not have phone numbers, or why do they, is that why they wouldn't give them out, is because they don't keep phone numbers?
So are we the only telecommunication utility that has customers in the city of Harlan, or have you approached FMCTC or other?
No, they're wanting numbers from the utility side, not the telecom side, so they wouldn't contact FMCTC. Is that correct? I guess I shouldn't have made it over.
Communication
through
companies
that.
can't hand out their phone numbers, it's consumer privacy law.
Right, so.
And based on our policy, we can't either. So what they're asking for is an exception to our policy. So we would either have to rewrite the policy, which we wouldn't offer that up to anyone else, or we would have to somehow make an exception to it for this, which it sounds, from what I understand here, I don't believe we've done in the past, so this is kind of new territory.
Well, yeah, I would offer that as a joint entity for the benefit of our public, which we all serve. Public utility, public services, these are for public service improvements. To me, it's my linear thinking, it's an apples and oranges. It's different, you have private business coming in and requesting, this is for the good of those we serve.
Yeah, so what I would offer is, I don't disagree, but I think there's probably, to keep the board and keep this moving along, I think there probably needs to be a legal review on this before it's presented to the board as it relates to whether or not we can or can't by statute, or just because we haven't in the past doesn't mean we can't.
Well,
I think the information I sent out said it's up to individual boards.
right.
You guys have that authority.
And the issues with, I should say, some of the issues related to us providing that information is, number one, some of those numbers may not even be active anymore. They may not be current. They may have been numbers when people signed up 20 years ago. They don't have a phone anymore. And some of those numbers may also be mobile numbers, which we can't release. So I believe there is statute regarding the release of mobile telephone numbers. So we would basically have to purge the information separating mobile numbers from landline numbers.
And we would have no way to do that.
No way to do
unless
that.
you just looked at the prefix.
That doesn't guarantee anything.
We don't keep track of it.
Matt, do you have a guidance for us here?
Well, it is true that you're not allowed to give out cell phone numbers. Now, I do know that there are people that somehow have cell phones that start with 755. So even looking at the prefix is not going to be a possibility to not violate that provision, to not, release people's personal cell phones. We wouldn't know. Unless there's another way that you keep track of who has service and how they sign up for it, if they fill out applications for, service and that is a home phone. I don't know. I really honestly don't know, but I don't know if there's a plausible internal way you could do it.
As a public utility, whose customers are they? So are you saying that you can't call your own customer on a mobile phone?
No, we can't release that information.
So maybe that's what we can look.
Yeah, so why?
Look into is.
Yeah, maybe we need to cooperate, right? And if it's an LMI that helps in the moment with the city, but it ends up being used for our benefit as well in a future endeavor, maybe in other words, we just need to figure out how to legally get to yes, vice just going, hey, maybe it isn't the phones that the process is the path we need to go down. Maybe there's an email list. Maybe there's another way of getting at the data without.
I'm not sure that an email list would be possible either.
And I was gonna ask if the board would say, yeah, go ahead and do this, how would we differentiate the cell phones? Because you said we absolutely can't give out cell phone numbers.
No, you
So
can't.
even if you guys approve yes, Matt's saying that we can't give out cell phone numbers.
Yeah, I'm not leaning toward yes. I'm looking for a solution from somebody
Well,
that
I-
says we can say yes, but
I
right
guess
now we don't have that.
What I do know personally, though, is that there are cell phone numbers that you would not be able to know for sure. They're not all 579, they're not all 592 or 267. There are numbers that look like local numbers that are cell phones. How that's been done through Verizon, I don't know, but it is a fact. So unless there's a way that you compile information in a particular fashion where you do know for sure, then that can be released, I guess. If you know it's linked.
I would think the only way we could do that would be to offer a list of our actual telephone customers, but that's an insignificant, that's a very incomplete list, so.
Well, the list would be from the databases from the city. If you have wastewater treatment, and you took a phone number, or it'd be from the county for properties that are registered. Of course, you have electric, water, gas customers that might have a phone number on those. Communications, phone numbers, you can't use those. It's federal violation.
That's less.
So I mean, those would be your databases for phone numbers, and then you have to sort them for cell phone numbers.
And then if
But
somebody
it's already been
has-
said, you can port any number that you want, whether it be your home phone or anything else. So for us to know whether it was a cell phone or a landline would be impossible.
Yeah. IUB might have some information on that as they regulate the phone in the state.
So what is considered confidential information?
Are you asking me?
I am. What is considered?
I guess, for purposes of this situation, I would have to do some research, because we're talking about turning it over to a public entity that works in conjunction with this entity. So that might be very different than turning it over to, just a private organization or something like that. I honestly would not know that.
Yeah, so it
But
gives us.
I do know that it is not possible to provide cell phone information.
Yeah, we're going down. Let's just define what is confidential
Let me
information.
ask this question first, I
Hey,
guess.
let me finish first.
Sure.
What is defined as confidential information? Answer that. It states here we can provide non-confidential information. If telephones and cell phones or whatever are defined as confidential, then it's a mock snitch, right? Then we go down some other path.
Yeah,
If it's considered non-confidential, we can have the board make that discussion. But if it's considered confidential, we shouldn't even be having this discussion, really.
well, it's on the agenda, I guess. I wasn't expected to address that particular request. I guess what I would ask is, Gene, is there another type of information that they would accept? Because I'm certain that the board is wanting to, help as much as it can, but, I don't know what they're asking of you from their end.
I mean, you say the public phone books aren't reliable enough for you, and yet there's a liability for us to release the phone numbers if there's potentially cell phones in there, so.
And if you release a customer list,
Yeah.
they may not have approved being in the phone book.
Yeah,
And I believe I sent out the code section on what confidential information is.
Yep.
And that's when this was changed so that utilities can have their own discretion in giving out customer information, so that someone can't just walk in off the street and say, hey, can you tell me what David Tyrell's bill is and if he's behind on it?
I'm not, by the way.
That's why they changed the policy, so it doesn't, by just giving out an address on paper, you are not giving out a certain person's identity. You're just giving an address.
But that's not as adequate, is that what I'm
Yeah,
understanding?
they're saying they need the phone numbers, and I'm saying, for us to release phone numbers without validating what's a landline versus a cell phone puts us at risk.
Correct.
And
Plus
so-
money.
Huh?
Plus the full-time employee money, sorting it all out.
Well, I mean, just saying that what we have, we don't know the difference between them.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't think our list, to me, the most reliable list you have is the phone book.
Yep.
And you're saying that doesn't meet your need.
So, thank you, Randy. So go back to, there are other methods that can be used to conduct this study. So again, the assessor's list with then looking in phone books, just going through phone books, door to door. Those are all means and methods. Emails, which we don't have, so there are other methods. This is simply
Yeah.
a request to make this more efficient. I think we would also offer, Mr. Shelton's question is, I think should be further reviewed. And then secondly, if this study was a water utility, doing a CDBG app with water utility, would this be a new point?
Well, we wouldn't be able to release the information if it was done by an outside agency. I think that was the issue we ran into with SWIPCO, was providing that to an outside agency.
Okay.
So I move we vote no.
No, we don't,
Or we table it.
there's,
Or
we'll
table
table
it.
it until we
Okay.
have additional information, would be the right way to go.
What additional information would that be?
If someone can come up with a way that legally that you're willing to say, yes, you guys can vote for this, then we can, but unless you're comfortable with saying that, I don't think there's anything we
Well,
can do.
I don't know anything about this study that's being discussed right now at all, or who this organization is that the information will be provided to, nor do I know the actual internal means of HMU obtaining that information without fully knowing that you're not giving out information you cannot give out.
What's
And
the
I
ti-
did just verify, we don't keep track in our software of if it's a cell phone or a landline. We just keep track that it's a phone number.
Gene, what's the timeline on this? When were you looking for the information? Do we have time to give Matt until like the May 12 meet or something to just kind of do a little research and
Yes.
give us an opinion?
And I suppose, Gene, I'll be in touch with you about, what they're actually requiring and what other possibilities and who exactly this organization is and what their request is. If you could provide me with that information, that'd be great.
Would that be acceptable to the board? Have Matt work with Gene and then give us an opinion for the next meeting?
Works for me.
Works for me, as long as we have an opinion, yes.
Okay.
I don't believe you need to vote on that.
Right.
No, okay.
All right. Moving on to number 8, J.J. Jensen Sports Field Lighting Presentation Request for Donation and Fundraising Ideas.
Okay, this request came from a member of the committee that is heading up a fundraising for ballpark lights at J.J. Jensen. The initial matching grant of $250,000 is being offered through Monogram Loves Kids Foundation. The total amount that the group is trying to raise is $1.25 million. And this simply being placed in front of the board for discussion. So possible action. Management doesn't really have an opinion on it other than we've denied some similar requests in the past, so.
What organization are you talking about?
Putting lights down at the baseball field.
Let's see, let me see what the name of
It's Harlan Little League is what it's calling itself.
Or Shannon discussing
it. Yeah.
what their.
Gene, what are they calling themselves? The name of the organization raising the money?
Harlan Little League.
Harlan Little League. Okay, it's Harlan Little
Shane,
League.
Landon, did you hear something?
And is there an amount? Or what are they asking for, a particular amount or just a donation?
Just a general request for a donation. There's no specified request amount.
A public entity, there's Attorney General opinions that state that a public entity can donate to a private entity. And that sounds like, I mean, I don't know. what-
So it depends on if they're a 405C3.
Not even a company that is a nonprofit. I do know that. For sure.
I had several questions on this.
It sounds like it's a moot point. Is that,
Yeah.
In my opinion, okay, if an organization comes to a public entity asking for a donation, and they are not, like the city comes to ask for something from, you might be able to do that. But a public entity is not allowed to donate to a private entity. And
And
if
so
this
like
is a
your-
private entity, which it looks like, and then, like I said, that includes even nonprofits. I know I don't know if there's Iowa code section, I don't know if there's anything that is in the case law that has been supported by this to allow this, but I do know there are Attorney General opinions out there on multiple occasions that I've heard, and other cities have gone through this too. That's just word of mouth. But I do know there are Attorney General opinions that state exactly what I just said.
Yeah, we have that Attorney General opinion on file.
So then it's mute.
Without knowing what they're asking for, I mean, it could be labor too, and the connectivity and that type of thing, so I don't know.
This initial request was for funding. So
then I don't believe that it can be done.
Yeah. If it was, you know, setting up switchgear or something like that, or, I mean, transformers maybe.
You could leave that as an option if you wish to take any,
Yeah.
you know, anything.
I mean,
like that.
so without any breakout on what they're looking for or anything, it's hard to go any further.
It can't be money.
So,
Gene?
And it looked like Troy wanted to make a presentation here, so was he contacted and let him know that he was gonna be on the agenda?
I just told him that we'd put him on the agenda for the board discussion, so.
Okay. It's just not like him to not show up if he knew it was gonna be on here.
Go ahead.
Gene, what can we,
Offer two things, and I just had a message back here from Mr. Shaven, and he was unaware he was supposed to be here. My understanding was that this group is looking to further broadcast the project, and I know they came to the city council a week ago, they've been to the school board, and I believe that was the intent on your agenda. And then in terms of what Matt is suggesting, there are Attorney General opinions on this, and what's real pivotal and important is to be able to demonstrate public purpose with any initiative or funding. So,
Is the school donating money?
what's that?
Is the school donating money? Who pays for the irrigation down there? Who pays for the irrigation down at the ball fields?
yes, sir, they affect.
Who does the sign, who put the sign up down there? Is the city Parks Department putting money into it? What fundraisers are they doing? Are they doing extra admissions to help pay this? They've drilled a well down there. That's what I have lots of questions about.
well, at this point, I don't know that there's any reason to answer any of those questions, as we're not in a position to make a direct donation until we
Okay.
know exactly what they're looking for, or until Mr. Shaven is here to make whatever presentation. I think this is all moot.
Do we want to invite him then back on the 12th?
I think so. I think his goal was to be
Yeah,
on
maybe
television
advertise it
and
on
talk
the-
to our audience about fundraising, and I don't have a problem with that, except,
Wants to run an ad on the local lines or
yeah,
something.
but as far as, there's really no action to be taken here today.
But we
so
can't give money because it's a,
That we cannot give money, no.
okay.
Okay, we'll invite him back then for the May 12th board meeting.
And especially because it is titled the Harlan Little League. I don't know what that means, I don't know if it's school affiliated, I don't know who owns the land down there, but it sounds to me like it is not.
But we couldn't give money to the wellness center for the swimming pool. And that's,
Okay, well,
Okay.
So we're just gonna table that?
we're gonna
for
table that
May
until
12th
Mr. Shaven is here to tell us more about what they're asking for.
And I will make sure I contact him and let him know that he's invited to the May 12th meeting.
Very good. Item number 9, Viking Fire Protection, three-year renewal in the amount of $720 per year.
Yeah, this is renewal, bringing it back to the board primarily because it is a 3-year renewal, so it's an extended agreement. But it's for the testing, inspection, and maintenance of our fire protection system here in the office. So. And it has been reviewed by legal, so.
Any questions?
And it was budgeted money, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I move that we approve the fire protection agreement for the next 3 years.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Shall I?
Terrell, aye.
Reside.
Shelton, aye.
All right. Item number 10, the Western Area Power Administration Contract Exhibit B.
Yeah, these are just language revisions primarily related to taking delivery from SPP versus NIPCO and cleaning up some old documents with relation to Western Area Power Admin, Exhibit B and Exhibit C.
And I did review
Yep.
those documents.
Yep.
The revisions and the previous documents and the current proposed documents. You provided Ken with my response.
Okay. Any questions on those? Just need a motion to approve?
Yep, motion to approve the revision to the Western Area Power Administration Contract Agreement.
Second.
Roll call?
Michelle, aye.
Terrell, aye.
Reside.
Shelton, aye.
Okay. Item 11 is the TiVo Rovi iGuide agreement for an initial 3-year term.
Right. This is the agreement for the guides on our cable TV system. Previously, they'd kind of been year to year. This is a 3-year term, and it's based on subscriber numbers, generally $380 to $400 a month is what it's run in the past, but it's moving to a longer 3-year term pricing model on this one, so.
That's why it's coming to the board is because of the
Pardon?
it's coming to the board because of the 3-year?
Because of the 3-year, yeah.
And is this all in the budget?
Yep. Yes, it is.
I'll move to approve the Tivio Rexy iGuide agreement.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Michelle, aye.
Terrell, aye.
Reset.
Shelton, aye.
Item number 12, discussion only regarding request by board member Shelton to create charters for board committees.
Yeah, so this is, I'm not trying to say this is for all committees. I would just say that having been a member of the finance committee and looking for guidance and roles and responsibilities, the absence of such, unless I'm missing something, leaves the committee and the board itself without a well-established, understood process and role and responsibility. So what I've offered is just a draft charter that I think I would offer that we just kind of look at, review, and move forward. I don't have the authority to recommend the other committees have charters of their own, but I think it's important that the finance committee has a charter.
I'm struggling with this one, I have to be honest. This is a heavily regulated organization already, and anytime we add unrequired additional documentation that all we're doing is adding expense and we're adding complexity to what is already one of the most heavily regulated organizations in the county. My understanding is the city council doesn't have charters for their committees either. I think this is one of those belt and suspenders concepts I'm not sure that makes sense for us. That's my opinion.
Just a little bit of background. The city has various committees and boards for like the airport board. They have Parks and Rec. They have the streets department, sewer department, and they do meet more or less on a regular basis. The only 2 meetings that I've been to are when the insurance committee meets and occasionally when the Parks and Rec meet. Those are the only ones I've participated in. We also do participate occasionally when the planning and zoning group meets, which is kind of irregular compared to the others. Anyway, just in my limited experience, I can't speak to the board actions prior to my coming here, but in the years I've been here, our committees basically have met on an as-need basis, whenever issues came up that we felt needed to be addressed before they went to the full board. There really hadn't been any formal structure with regard to how the meeting was conducted. And we haven't had a formal process in place for how committees meet. And I guess it's entirely up to the board how they want to proceed, so.
Yes, I would just offer there's a difference between regulations and process. So while this industry is heavily regulated, this organization, the utility board, is not heavily process-driven. And as such, it does create, in my short tenure here, it does create gaps. And so